Here's the 30-second lesson on what legends know. Never practice nunchucks in a crowded room. Never eat chole before a road trip. Always take your shirt off before you iron it. Don't take a call near a swimming pool. And don't forget, saving is not investing. Legends don't just save, they invest in mutual funds. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Every afternoon I have to wrestle with this question, what issue to pick up for today's episode of Clutter. And you know what, these days news environment is so alive. So many stories are breaking and so many stories are continuing that we are spoiled for choice. Out of this entire large, I would say, platter of choices available, I am picking up for you today the so-called WBSSC scandal. The scandal in which you've seen these visions, reality, not just visions, not just something that you conjure up, but the reality of tens of crores of rupees in currency appearing in front of you. 21 crores one day, second day, as I record this, is still being counted, but I see reports saying another 30 crores, 35 crores, plus there is gold bars, there are diamonds, and there are properties, and there are all kinds of other things. We don't know quite how much yet, but it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money in cash. It's piled up. It's so much cash that bank employees have had to be called in and they worked overnight with counting machines to count this cash. Now, what is this scandal? We know that a minister, the second most powerful or most important minister in West Bengal cabinet after Mamata Banerjee, he's been arrested by Enforcement Directorate, as is an actor, Arpita Mukherjee, who's supposedly close to him. They've been seen together a lot, and now it looks like everything that I say about the case involving anybody, please presume that the word allegedly is there. So the word allegedly is also presumed to be read or spoken, because if I speak it all the time, all that will stay back with you is the word allegedly. But in our business, in journalism, the principle is that until somebody is convicted by a court of law, even if there is photographic evidence or video evidence, we say allegedly. That is the basic decency and the basic rule of journalism. Nevertheless, coming back to the point. So you've seen one minister and somebody close to that minister. They've been arrested. It's quite a story. The minister is 69. The woman arrested is about in her 30s. The minister is very powerful. He's always been with Mamata Banerjee. TMC was his first party. Before that, he was a student leader in the Chhatra Parishad, 98. He joined Mamata Banerjee, has been faithful to her, is trusted by her. Mamata Banerjee also has the trait of placing full trust in people who work with her. Kind of, you give the people the keys and go to sleep. So she's had that kind of political record so far. Now, he's been arrested. He had education portfolio until the last government. He lost the education portfolio in this government, which was sworn in last year after Mamata Banerjee won another famous victory against the BJP. The scandal pertains to something that happened in his previous tenure. The scandal started in 2016. It's in 2016 that WBSSC, which stands for West Bengal School Service Commission, it's a powerful body, because West Bengal is a large state. It's a large state with a lot of government schools. It was under the left for a very long time, more than 3 decades. So a lot of government money was spent, invested in education. That was the left's USP, and the left also believes everything should be done by the government. So it has a large number of schools. So my colleague Shreyashi Day, who's done stellar reporting on this case from Kolkata, she's our Kolkata correspondent. I've got the data from her, so thank you, Shreyashi, plus much other detail. In fact, I've been on a call with her for a long time, and she's tutored me fully on this episode of Cut the Clutter, plus reading her stories and her video, of which I am sharing links with you. Please see them. So West Bengal government runs 15,481 primary school. 15,481. 743 upper primary. I would presume that they'll be like middle schools, like up to class 8, but I can't say for sure. 15,481 primary schools, 743 upper primary schools, that becomes a total of a little over 16,000, plus 3,304 secondary schools, and further 2,825 higher secondary schools. So you can just add them up. So if you add them up, just back of the envelope count, or maybe top of my head count, that is 6,000 plus 16,000. That's about 22,000, between 22 and 23,000 schools that are run by West Bengal government. Now that is a lot of people to recruit, as teachers, assistant teachers, helpers, security guards, safai karamcharis, etc. So there are various categories of recruitment. Teachers are called school teachers and assistant teachers. Those are the two categories. They don't have an alphabet linked to them. And then there is C category and D category. So C category employees are safai karamcharis, they are clerks and peons. And D category are security guards. The scam that has right now emerged, where facts have emerged, are in the C category, but everything is being investigated. D category is being investigated, and also teachers' recruitments are being investigated, because you would presume that with so many schools, there'll be a lot of opportunity for recruitments. And you know the premium over jobs right now. So how desperate the job situation is evident from the data that Government of India, Modi government, presented in Parliament yesterday. That's Wednesday this week as we record this. That is, over the past 8 years, 22 crore Indians applied for government jobs. How many were selected? 7.22 lakhs were selected only. So you can imagine what the odds are. Odds are very tiny. And why are people so desperate for these government jobs? Because government job means job security, confirmed salary, confirmed promotions whenever you get those promotions, pension, free medical care, and many benefits. So because there is so much premium and such demand and such desperation for government jobs, you can also imagine how much would be the arbitrage available in case somebody wants to use corrupt methods to dole out these jobs. Now, what happened in this case? Money is still being recovered, still being counted, and also threads are still being tied, because we don't know, investigating agencies also don't know as yet for sure that all this money is linked to the SSC recruitment scam, because the same minister has had many other portfolios. So some could be about other things. Now, how many were the jobs at stake? That is the data that is important for us to know. Now, the total jobs for which advertisements were put out in 2016 were 3,700 in Group C and 4,700 in Group D. So that's about a little over 8,000 jobs. 8,000 jobs is a lot of jobs. Once again, look at that data point. Of the 22 crore that applied for central government jobs in 8 years, only 7,22,000 got selected, right? In this case, 8,000 jobs are going a-begging in one state. So you can imagine how many people would have applied given the very high level of unemployment. Now these recruitments were to be made through an exam, and this exam was not like a UPSC written test, essay, no such thing. These were exams on what is called as OMR sheets. OMR is optical mark recognition, and you will see a sample of what this sheet looks like, what an exam sheet looks like. So basically, each question has a bunch of options. With a pencil, you have to mark one. And optical mark recognition means that marking on these sheets will also be done digitally by a computer for simplicity, which will just look at this, figure out where you put the mark and give you the mark. So that was supposedly or supposed to be flawless, untouched by hand, and also impartial. That marking process had also been outsourced to a professional company that does these things. So that process was carried out. 2016 the ads were given out. 2017 the process started. In fact, When I saw the dates and when I saw these piles of cash and I saw these piles of 2000 rupee notes, immediately in my mind I thought that, if all these guys are paying in 2000 rupee notes, these are recruitments of 2017. 2000 rupee notes only came into being much later. So how did people get so many 2000 rupee notes? 2000 rupee notes only came up after demonetization and not that many were available. But the fact is that the process has gone on. Process has gone on till 2019. That is when some of this began to spill over. Now what happened was, by 2019, people began to get their appointment letters. That is how long it takes in the government recruitment processes. 2019, people began to get their appointment letters. When they got the appointment letters, people had all got their own marks. So basically, you could go to a website, put in your roll number, and you got the marks that you got. No mark sheet or no results were put out in public. So you could never know your neighbor's marks. But in a village, in the same community, somebody got recruited, somebody did. The fellow got recruited, maybe boasted to people, I've got so many marks. The fellow who did not get recruited, he said, but hello, you got 45, I got 50, so how come you got recruited? I didn't get recruited. Now, if there was one odd case like that, this would have gone under the bridge. Nobody would have cared. But a lot of such cases began coming up. And then these people got activated and they began filing complaints. They finally went to court. Now, this written test was also followed by a personality test of sorts. So there was some bit of discretion built into the process. This written test or this OMR test also was about GK, basic math, Bengali language, etc., etc. So there wasn't that much discretion either. There was some discretion because of personality tests, but not that much discretion. So how come people with lower marks were getting selected? And that is when these people started going to Calcutta High Court. Now, Calcutta High Court took notice of this, took cognizance of this, and they asked WBSSC to put up every candidate's result, marks, on their website. WBSSC took 3 months doing that. This could be done in 3 hours because this data was with them, but they took 3 months. That got the court even more suspicious. So at one point, the court said that, look, I'm handing it over to CBI, and then some complications took place. State government went to a larger bench. Larger bench said no CBI, but there should be a court-appointed committee to investigate it. So this committee was set up, a 3-member committee was set up to investigate this under retired Justice Ranjit Bagh. And that committee, as that began unraveling things, they discovered at least 609 recruitments in category C to have been illegal or out of term. Now, how this was done is a very interesting story. And I would even say that scamsters, whoever they are proven to be in the court, finally, they deserve full marks for creativity. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic. I'm not saying they are brilliant people and any of us should be creative like that. But what they did was, now the system already has the marks, right? And the marks have been given through a digitized process. So how do you fix this process of recruitment? So they said anybody who wants to get recruited, even though he or she may not have made the cut, file an RTI. File an RTI to say what my marks are and give me a copy of my answer sheet, OMR sheets. So these OMR sheets, in response to RTI, was given to these candidates. And these candidates apparently or allegedly, I told you earlier on, take allegedly everywhere, allegedly changed their marks on those sheets and sent them back, and the commission then considered those as correct and allegedly issued them appointment letters. Now, why would they do it? They were not doing it because they loved them or they were their neighbors or they were their cousins and nephews. There might be the odd case of a cousin or nephew, but mostly you would safely make an assumption, not a presumption. You will make an assumption that this was done with an ulterior motive, or which means in exchange for some monetary benefit. So that is the case, that these people got their OMR sheets because they were advised to file RTI and then changed their marks and sent them back, and because they had quote unquote fixed the system or quote unquote sorted out the system or quote unquote paid the powers that be, they got recruitment letters. Now these recruitment letters, again, when I say creativity, so one part of the creativity was use of RTI. The other part of the creativity was what to do with the district commissioners. Now West Bengal has 23 districts. I'm surprised because a state as large as that should have many more districts, but maybe that is something to examine later at some point. But these districts are divided in 4 zones for education department. Each zone has a zonal commissioner. Each commissioner then, after the personality test and looking at OMR sheets, sends out recommendations as to who should be recruited. Now, they did not send out these recommendations. It seems that once again the powers that be, and I'll let you know in 1 minute who the powers that be were in this case. It was not directly the WBSSC, it was another body. I will just tell you. They asked them all to send their sample signatures. Now these were not even digital signatures. Digital signatures which we use, say, to file our tax returns and for many other formalities. Digital signatures somebody can only access through a password. Somebody has to know the password. Just because you give your digital signature to somebody, they can't keep using it unless they know the password. In this case, these commissioners were not asked for their digital signature. They were just asked to sign their name on a piece of paper and send what might be called JPEG files. So then someone else could scan these and make full use of these. So again, the allegation is, or the charge is, that the big bosses in Kolkata then used these signatures to forge, quote unquote, allegedly forged documentation to declare other candidates who had sorted out the system, to issue them, to list them as qualified candidates. So these signatures were then misused. So in this case, a lot of the key people, including the chairman of SSC, Kalyanbal Ganguly, they have all been charged with forgery, conspiracy, etc., and they are being interrogated. Now, I told you that this wasn't just the school board that did it. It was another body. So the education ministry in this case set up another body under a former professor of zoology from Vishwa Bharati University called Shanti Prasad Sinha. They also added in the committee a couple of other people. Who were these couple of other people? One was officer on special duty to Partha Chatterjee, who was an education minister, and second was his personal secretary. So my appointee, my personal secretary, and my OST. All of these are now being interrogated. All of these now have charges against them. The CBI is on their case right now. So this committee sat and then they decided who will be issued appointment letters based on this quote unquote recommendations from zonal commissioners whose signatures they had obtained in advance, and these signatures on a plain piece of paper. That is the story, that's the case that's made out. These were not signatures with recommendations that they were sending. Now, why would they allow their signatures to be used like that? Those are questions that somebody needs to ask them, and those are the questions that they need to answer, because almost nobody would send their signatures on a blank piece of paper to anybody presuming or believing that they'll be used. Forget they're being misused. Nobody parts with their signatures like that. Now, again, further interesting and creative things were done. Maybe too creative in this case. They were going too far or getting carried away. They had these appointment letters printed on perfectly good watermarked government stationery. So these were not scanned letterheads or anything. Proper stationery. They had these appointment letters issued, but they took care that no dispatch records were kept. In the government system, when these letters are sent, there's a dispatch record that such and such letter sent to so and so. No dispatch records were kept. These letters were distributed directly to candidates. And the distribution was allegedly done by Shanti Prasad Sinha, who was the chairman of this arbitrary committee allegedly appointed by the education minister. And where was this distribution done? Not in the WBC SSC office, which is an old building in Kolkata. The same commission has built another building, a new building to which it hasn't yet shifted. That building hasn't yet become functional. So these people allegedly will go to that building and distribute these letters to their preferred candidates in that building. That was to create some sense of distance, etc., etc. But obviously, it did not work because this was obviously a racket that was too perfect to be successful. And they got caught because you know what? It is ultimately the government system. And when you are being so reckless in the government system, you will make errors. So in some cases, appointment letters were issued to two persons for the same job. So those persons also then figured out, some of them went to court. And in fact, for 500 days now, a bunch of these applicants or candidates have been sitting in dharna at a central place in Kolkata. So this is not exactly something that started today. It's come to this stage, and obviously the agencies and the rest have been on these cases. And you know, if you have this kinds of tens of crores of rupees lying in your house, you have to be really daft to imagine that this will not go out, because this is too much of a story for anybody who works with you, anybody who carries this cash. So if anything, people should go to jail for stupidity in this case, right? I'm not saying people should be much smarter, so they should not be caught. Good that they got caught. And the smartest people got caught. Indian politicians have had a history of being caught with money. We know about Pandit Sukram, when he was telecom minister, some 3 crores were found in his mattress or under his bed. And that was then a big story. Now it's maybe 60 crores, maybe more, we don't know. It will come. So the scales of money have changed, but people have been caught with money. But I'll tell you about Sukram. Sukram, after that, although he was convicted, etc., etc., he spent some time in jail, but he kept on changing parties. He immediately, his first party, he became an ally of the BJP. Congress party expelled him and his son. He set up his own party, became an ally of the BJP, enjoyed some power, then came to Congress, then came to BJP, then came to Congress. Finally, he was in Congress when he passed away earlier this year at the age of 94. So that was one case. And then you have the other case, that is Om Prakash Chatala's case, which in some ways is quite similar to what's happening in West Bengal right now. Because Om Prakash Chatala and his son, they were convicted for corruption and sentenced to 10 years of jail for similarly fixing and manipulating the appointment of 3,206 junior basic teachers in Haryana. And they've spent their 10 years in jail. Chatala, meanwhile, has got another 4 years for disproportionate assets. That's a different thing. He's now the oldest prisoner in Tihar jail at 87. But that besides, the fact is that this underlines to us the rot in government schooling and education system. All of us keep demanding the government put more money in education. But if education is going to be exploited like this, because education means schools mean recruitment means corruption. And if there is a premium on seats, which unfortunately is not the case, or maybe fortunately is not the case with government schools, then there will be corruption in school admissions as well. So obviously, this raises many questions, which is beyond the scope of this episode of Cut the Clutter. So I will conclude here. I think this is a debate that should go on. How can we ensure as citizens that money, taxpayer money allocated to education is spent right, is invested right, because it is to be invested in our future.